Dillon, thanks so much for being here. First off, can you maybe just walk us through what Water First is and your role in the program?
Absolutely. So I'm the Senior Manager of Indigenous School Engagement at Water First. And our programs specifically go to schools and Indigenous communities and provide water science education and training programs that are linked to curriculum, provide students with opportunities to be on the land, engaging with hands-on resources, learning from us, experts within our organization, but also inviting community members to share their knowledge as well, to create a sort of a positive space of reciprocal learning. Now, Water First as an overall organization, we have our programming in general addresses water challenges in Indigenous communities through education and training initiatives. Now, that's like it's a bunch of words. Basically, we partner with. We have collaborations with communities whereby we create projects where we hire youth to address particular challenges that could exist that are related to environmental water or drinking water. So this could be individuals for youth to do drinking water internships within their community where they're getting the necessary training and certifications in order for them to work at their water treatment plants. Or it could be young adults that are working within lands and resources departments to address environmental water challenges. So it could be fish population studies, it could be water health, baseline water quality studies, all sorts of projects, and we bring it to the schools.
So you guys do a little bit of everything, it sounds like. So I just, for my own personal knowledge, I mean, how long has this been going on? Like, when was this sort of started?
So Water First began as an initiative called Tin Roof Global, where the work took place primarily in Uganda. And attending water conferences in Canada, our executive director was often asked, why are we focusing all of our resources, time, and energy there when there are water challenges within Canada that could be equally or that could also be addressed? And so, taking that to heart, John set to kind of change the mission and vision of the organization to addressing the challenges and needs of communities in Canada and trying to provide education and training services for those individuals to do that, to address those challenges.
So, Dillon, what does one of your classes look like? Like, what can students expect to learn?
Our programs are pretty comprehensive. It's not necessarily like an in and out one day sort of thing. Our programming takes place over the span of a week where students are introduced to a whole bunch of different concepts that either are going to help them learn about their local water bodies and their watershed or the water treatment process within their community. And we try to have a full circle sort of view of like looking at it from the source water to how it's treated, to how it's distributed, to how wastewater is treated, both objectively then also at the local level. Similarly, understanding where the water in local water bodies came from, where it's going, what that means for that community in that space, and what they can do to sustainably protect and or address challenges that could be in those water bodies.
So how do you find the students, or do the students more find you, or is it kind of a little bit of both? I'm just curious how you, like, these students come in.
Different, yeah, so it's changed, right? So Water First has grown in popularity over the last few years. Initially, we would have to be introducing ourselves very often because a lot of people didn't know that these services existed. As an NGO, we couldn't allocate as much resources to that sort of promoting what we do. We sort of had to work with communities and develop a reputation organically, and then have those communities be able to say, hey, we worked with this Water First group. We have a really strong relationship. We'd like to refer them to you. And so now that we have more communities are aware of us, we're seeing a lot more communities reaching out to us, and we're trying to meet the needs and demands that they'd like to see in their communities and their schools. So it's been a really exciting shift over the last few years.
And Dillon, I wanted to ask you, why is it so important to incorporate land-based learnings and teachings throughout education programs for everybody?
I think every student can answer that question, but it's just a matter of when we're in community, what we've what we've noticed working in consultation with teachers, with elders in our advisory council, and then just with the students themselves, there's no comparison to learning on the land and learning from the land. There's certain things that just simply cannot be taught in a classroom. And I find that we have found ourselves in this current teaching climate, finding ourselves having to rely more and more on technology in order to achieve the learning outcomes that we would like to see. And I don't, in some ways it's been really, really helpful, but in other ways I think we're losing sight of all the bountiful knowledge that we can gain by being on the land, by talking to and working with professionals whose jobs exist on the land, who have had that opportunity to learn about the local geography, to learn about that space, to learn about all the amazing things that the land provides, and to be able to share that with their students. I've had students learn more by just walking around and observing than if I had been in a classroom pointing at a definition of a plant and showing a picture. It's a whole different experience getting out there, getting your hands dirty, and that experiential learning piece is really critical, I think, to having a memorable experience that the students can draw back from and continue to feel passionate and inspired.
Right, and so water first, we're talking about water as well. So water's been, sort of an ongoing issue for communities across the country, really, for a number of years and decades. So I wanted to ask you again, what are some of the First Nations and maybe your region currently facing?
Well, it's not exactly one blanket problem, and there is certainly not a single blanket solution. I think according to the government, there's still 31 long-term drinking water advisories taking place in Canada. The reason I'm making it so broad is that we do work, and ideally we'd like to be doing work nationally. Now that number is not holistic of the entire, amount of water issues that are impacting communities. That's not the entire story. That's just one statistic. But we see a wide range. In particular, and it can be everything from infrastructural challenges. It can be problems that are associated with the particular location of a community versus the quality of the water. It can be challenges that have to do with capacity limitations, so not enough trained individuals to address the issues that exist. And in that particular last one is where water first, that's the issues that we're trying to address, is where we can provide education and training programming to address capacity limitations within communities, to allow them to solve their own, to address their own issues and solve them in a way that they know is going to work, as opposed to some outside expert.
Right, and so what's maybe next for water first? I mean, where do you see this going? Where do you hope it's going? Like, sort of what are some of the the short and long term goals of water first?
Mm. So our mission is to be able to provide our programming to any community that sees a need for it, right? And that's pretty much the beginning and end of our ambitions. It'd be fantastic to have programming happening in every province and territory, but we'd much rather let the growth take place organically and responsive to the needs and demands of the communities that reach out to us, right? And we just want to be able to have the resources and the staff needed to provide programming to the communities that need it. And so that's, as the more that we grow, the more that we're going to be able to meet the demands of the communities that would like to see our services. So that's my hope. Hopefully that was not too indirect. Organic growth.
No, that makes total sense. And what makes Water First sort of unique, I guess, compared to some other land-based programs? I'm sure you already touched on a little bit of it, but what makes the organization so unique compared to some of the others?
I don't want to suggest that we are doing anything necessarily better than any other particular group, but I will say one thing that I'm proud of is the earnestness, the transparency that we have in establishing our initial relationships. We're really, really concerned with as much as a successful project as having a respectful, honest, and well, I guess also efficient collaborative relationship with our partner communities. I champion reciprocal learning on my team. I tell my team that it's okay if when you've returned from a project, you've learned as much or more than what you were able to provide to that community. It's that openness, it's that humble, a humble confident yet receptive to receive knowledge. I think that is a big difference. We like to leave holes within our programming for the community to have their knowledge also integrated. So it's a bit more work, because it's hard going into community not knowing what 40% of the project might look like, but that's the way to do it if you really want to truly incorporate community's values. And
All right, we really appreciate the time, Dillon. We'll have to leave it there. But again, really thank you, Miigwech, for coming on and sharing a bit about Water First.
Miigwech, thank you very much for having me. Much appreciated.